Hey everybody, this is Ask the Pastor. I take questions from the internet and then I do my best to answer them. Some of the questions take a long time to answer, some are pretty short. I just take as much time as I need for every subsequent question. Here's the question for today. Why circumcision? If we're made perfectly, why did God command circumcision? Oh, that's an interesting question. So first of all, I have to kind of undo what's probably a misunderstanding. If we are made perfectly, that makes the question complex. You can check up there about complex questions. I don't think we are made perfectly. In fact, if you want to deal with someone about being made perfectly, you probably need to talk to an atheistic evolutionist. That would be the worldview that says that we're the fittest, that says we have survived because we are fit, and over thousands of years of getting better and better, millions of years, this is what we've ended up with. And I think we'd have to ask the question then, hey, why are we still so broken, right? Like why didn't we fix some of these things yet if we're so fittest? Now, that's not exactly being fair to the atheistic evolutionists. They don't think we're perfect either because they've seen us, just like we, the Christians, have seen us. And it's pretty clear that we're not. And in fact, if you talk to Darwin, the meaning of fittest doesn't even mean strongest, best. The meaning of fittest is most harmonious. Fits like a puzzle piece. The community that fits in the best. But I digress. Christians don't think that humans are perfect. The central narrative of Christian theology is this soteriology, this expectation that we'll be made perfect sometime later, that we'll get perfect bodies, but we don't have them yet. And so, yeah, like there's all sorts of things we need to, like we got to wear sunscreen. Why sunscreen if God made us perfect? Well, because he didn't. God did make us, however, intelligently. God made us purposefully, and there are things about us which show evidence of design. And I think that's an important just kind of realization. God engineered us, but engineering us doesn't mean perfect. Just like if you make something, it's not always perfect. We're made by a perfect maker. Now, independent of that, why then circumcision? Well, some have argued that circumcision was about health. It was about improving the hygienic function of the male genitalia. And I think there's a level of truth about that. A more important reality of circumcision is it was a differentiator. It was a way to make God's people physically different from what the other nations were doing, and to dedicate the bloodline, everything that comes from these loins, right? All of my descendants are going through something that has been dedicated to God, that has been made different. And to be made different is the same as to be made holy, right? Those are synonyms, set apart, holy, as a act of faith or as a differentiator to God. So where did it really come from? Well, the instructions come from the Torah, and the parts of the Torah, the Torah is a conversation between people and God. So the Torah is absolutely a product of its time, and there is no denying that the authors and the compilers, the people who are responsible for putting the Torah together, did so prayerfully and did so faithfully, but there's also no denying that they did so as people that have agendas and preferences and understandings, and so these were a people that practiced circumcision. And I think for many hundreds of years, that had some significant advantages for them, both hygienically, both in helping our imperfect bodies to exist in an imperfect environment, because the world also is sinful, fallen, and broken. There are environmental conditions. We've got viruses and bacteria and issues out there. And it was a blessing. It helped both hygienically and in terms of faith, in terms of ritual, understanding who's in and who's out, and making it really hard for men to say, "Oh no, I'm in." Well, if you want to be in, we need some commitment out of you. Now, in the New Testament, a lot of that goes away, and there is some harsh words that Paul reserves for people in the New Testament who say that if you want to be a part of the life of Christ, you need to be circumcised. In fact, he says at one point in Galatians, for those people, I wish that they would even cut themselves off. In other words, if they're so obsessed with what everyone's genitals look like, I wish they would castrate themselves. That's how I feel about them. And so in the modern context, in the modern Christian environment, the tradition that many Western people have continued to hold of circumcising, it's an optional tradition. It's if you feel like doing it, you might fit in better and look like other people. But it's no longer this covenant and this symbol of being a part of the people of God. There's a new circumcision, the circumcision of the heart, and we call that baptism. And so it's not just for men, it's now for everybody, and it is available to you. And so I hope you'll consider entering into that new kind of circumcision as we worship God together. That's my answer. If you agree with that answer and you think I addressed the question, I hope you'll share this video. If I didn't address the question, you can argue with me and make your own video, or even just argue with me down in the comments. I'd rather the own video, though. And finally, if you've got your own question to ask me, I hope you do. Give me a comment and I will make a video about your question. Meanwhile, here are some other questions that have to do with things I talked about. We talk about baptism here, and we've got other engagements that people have asked me, and I hope I'll see you next time. Thanks.